Good morning, guys. We're going to get started with a quick warm-up, but before we do, here's the rundown for the day. Down there in the bottom in red, this is in your syllabus, but I'm going to reiterate it because otherwise I feel like I'm going to have a lot of people logging on Thursday morning. There's no class on Thursday. I'm going to be out of town, and I'm not going to have access to a piano. So teaching would be super ineffective. So there's no class on Thursday, likewise no office hours. But if you do want to meet with me for office hours on Thursdays, let me know, because that I can orchestrate fine. I just won't have a piano to teach. So fear not, I have a suggestion for what you might consider doing during our class time on Thursday, but no formal class meeting on Thursday. Okay, let's roll. We're going to do a little singing warm-up. Here's a key for you, and we are going to sing this little line of numbers. The little sort of commas next to the 5s and 6s just mean 5 and 6 below tonic. So let's just sing this number line. This is similar to the warm-ups we've been doing to get us in augmented 6th mode. So just sing this bass line for me on quarter notes to get you warmed up. Ready, and 1, 5, 6, 5, 1, 5, sure, 5, 1. Fine. How about we try that first progression? Short and sweet. 1, Italian 6, 5, 1. Sing the octaves on the 5 chord, please. Let's see how you go. Ready, and okay, fine. Let's jump to the second progression. Switch to a German 6. You've got to add a cadential 6/4 in there. Again, both 5s on either end of both the cadential 6/4 and the 5 chord. Ready, and 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 6, 1, 3, sure, 3, 1, 6, 5, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 5, 5, 7, 2, 5, 2, 7, 5, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. Okay, fine. Last thing we're going to do as part of this warm-up is just sing a modulating progression. This is very similar to one of the ones we did on Thursday. We are going to modulate to the minor 3, and we're going to use our tonic as a pivot. So here's a key for you. So take a second and look this over really quickly. Mainly, I want to just refresh your memory of the numbers 4, 8, 2, 7. 2, 4, 6 is your triad. We add a third on top of that. Your 7th is going to be scale degree 1. And this is just your friendly neighborhood reminder that between scale degree 6 and scale degree 5 in a minor key, your interval is a half step. So can we sing a bass line first? So just a bass line to start. Ready, on numbers, and repeat your pivot chord, please. Ready, and 1, 2, 5, 1, 6, 5, 5, 1. Okay, let's give the progression itself a run. Nice, easy tempo. Ready, and sorry, it's a little high. Now turn this into a 6. 6, 1, 3, 1, only your bass changes. 5, 1, 3, 1, 5. Now regular 5 chord. 5, 7, 2, 7, 5, and resolve. Okay, fine. I consider you officially warmed up. Before we move into our big topic of the day, which is just to practice some rhythms, really quick wrap up of Unit 1. Everything is graded with a few exceptions. The revision quiz I haven't gotten to yet, so if you took the revision quiz, I will grade that during lunch today. I do have a couple other like straggling things that came in super late that I haven't graded yet. But if you submitted something and it's either marked as missing or hasn't been graded yet and you submitted it like before 11 p.m. on Sunday, do shoot me an email and just ask me where it is. If there's a grade on there that looks funky to you, just email me and ask me about it. I graded, without exaggeration, over 100 videos over the weekend, so my brain stopped functioning after about 75. So if something looks weird, it might just be that I keyed something in incorrectly. So never be afraid to ask things like that. Okay, fine, let's do some rhythm stuff. Okay, so what you have on the right-hand column there, for those of you who are mathematically kind of inclined, this is a breakdown of the pacing of each of these rhythmic figures. So what it means is if your quarter note is going at 60, your eighth notes are at 120. That's something that we learned in Theory 1, right? Your eighth notes are twice the pace of your quarter note. That means your eighth note triplets are at 180. And the important thing is your quarter note triplets are half of that speed. And what I mean by that, and that kind of reinforces this idea that your quarter note triplets are the same as taking eighth note triplets and grouping them in twos. And we covered that in Hemiola and Skills 2, but this is just a nice little kind of refresher. What we're going to do today is work with a metronome on these rhythmic figures. And we're going to play a kind of fun game where I send you off in 2/4. So everyone's going to be conducting in 2. These are your 4 rhythmic options. So you've got this one, 3, and 4. Those are your 4 options in 2/4. And what I'm going to do is randomly select them. Not so randomly, but sort of. And I'm just going to, as you're going along, just going to circle one, and that's going to indicate what you're going to do the next measure. So as you're tying, keep an eye on the screen, and I'll highlight which one I want you to do in the next measure. So you're kind of performing and thinking and watching and planning ahead all at once. We're going to do this right now with the metronome at 60. So the metronome is going to be clicking your quarter note. If you get to the point where you can't hear this, let me know and we can try a different, this is coming out of my amp, but we can share computer sound if that'll be better. This seemed to work okay for my 9 amp. So here's your tempo, and we're going to conduct in 2, and you're just going to follow the little laser pointer with your rhythms. And 1, 2, ready, and ta, ta. Okay. Open up your chat for me, and either to me or to everyone, scale of 1 to 10. Was that 1 being that was really hard, 10 being that was fun and kind of cool, and or just like it was not terrible? Awesome. Now we're going to do the same thing, same idea, but I've moved the metronome up to 120. Your metronome is now giving you eighth notes. So you're going to still be conducting the same exact tempo. So you're still conducting in 2, but the metronome is articulating the eighth notes, which means that what we did last time, you were totally in sync and in phase with the metronome the entire time. Now, with the metronome articulating eighth notes, you're going to be in conflict with it quite often. So when you have line 3, the eighth note triplets, you're going to be 2 against 3 with the metronome. When you're on line 4 with the quarter note triplets, you are going to be 4 against 3 with the metronome. So you're going to have the triplets against a 4 pulse in the metronome. So you've got to kind of deal with that conflict. One thing I want us to do just together without any metronome on is just toggle between lines 3 and 4. So can we do that really quickly? I just want us to do a bar of line 3, a bar of line 4, and jump back and forth a few times to get you used to that transition. So going from eighth note triplets to quarter note triplets. Let's try it. Ready, and ta 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 ta. Okay, fine. Now, let's go ahead and try this with the metronome giving us eighth notes instead. So tempo's still here. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, scale of 1 to 10, how is that one? All right, cool. So this second iteration is definitely, it can be more difficult than the first one. This is also a great way to practice. So just throw a metronome on. You can use 120, you can slow it down if you want, but this is a great way to practice having those two, the triple versus the duple, happening at the same time without you having to like put it in both hands or something like that. Let the metronome do half the work. Okay, I'm going to put one thing up here, and I don't know if this is going to be helpful or not, but I know some of us are more visual learners than maybe kind of like this math stuff. So the backstory behind this is my husband and I went to the Science Center this weekend in Cleveland. And if you guys have never been, there's the 3rd floor is like this kind of playground of a whole bunch of sciencey things you can do. It's totally intended for like 10-year-olds, and we spent a solid hour up there playing around with things and racing cars that we built and all kinds of stuff. But one thing they have is this big table, and there's a metal rod that protrudes from it, and there's a metal pole that comes out of it, and it spins in a circle. And you have all of these pipes basically that you can slide into the path of it so that it kind of hits it as it goes around. And the pipes are all different sizes, they have different pitches and timbres. And the idea is that you can make different like rhythms basically with it. So of course what I did when I got there is I started building polyrhythms with all the pipes. And I built a 2 against 3, and then I built a 3 against 4. But as I was doing it, it kind of got me thinking that there's a very kind of mathematical breakdown to this that I hadn't considered visually before. So what I've got here is just a clock face. If you think about it, when we first introduced polyrhythm, it was in 3/4 with a stream of 16th notes, so 12 notes in the bar that we were dividing up. So this clock face just lays it out in a different way, lays those 12 out. So the first thing I'm going to do is divide it equally into 3. So that puts us at noon, and at 4 o'clock, and at 8 o'clock. And that's our triple subdivision. Then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to divide it into 4 equal parts. So that's going to be noon, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And that gives us a subdivision of 4. Now this kind of lays out that 3 against 4 existence in a visual way that shows a couple of things that I think are really important. One is that we phase in just once, just at noon, right? That's the only time that we lock in together. The other thing, and I tried to explain this probably poorly last week, is that when we're at 6 o'clock here, we are exactly between 4 and 8. So this is the exact midpoint between your second and third in the grouping of 3. So this is just a visual representation of that. Might be helpful, might not, but I thought it was potentially helpful enough to show it to you. Okay, let's do some rhythm cannons. Last week we did them entirely by ear. These are a little spicier, so we're going to actually read them off of a piece of paper. So let's take the first one. We're going to do it all together once. So at first line, no repeat, let's just ta through the first line once as a group. Ready, and ta, 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 ta. Cool. Now you're going to do it a measure behind me, and we are going to take the repeat. I want you to really try and listen to my rhythm and how it interacts with yours. So one measure behind me. Ready, and ta, 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 ta. Okay, fine. Second one, a little more interesting. Let's do the second one all together first. Just one time, no repeat. Ready, and ta, 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 ta. That transition from the third to fourth measure can be tricky, so you've got to be thinking triplets in measure 3. Even though you're saying eighth notes, you've also got to have triplets in your head to make measure 4 lock in accurately. Okay, let's try it as a canon. So you come in one measure after me. Take the repeat this time. Ready, and ta, 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 ta. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead, and if anyone has any questions, shout them out or throw them in the chat. But that concludes our rhythm play for the day. We're going to do a little bit of sight reading and tenor clef practice. This piece is actually, it's in your course pack if you want to read off a hard copy. We're just going to do the first phrase. So we are just going through here. The first part of this chat is going to be a little bit of review. Let's revisit how we go over the transposition for tenor clef. You're going to be doing a lot of tenor clef in Unit 2 as well. So let's just revisit this. So looking at the top of the score, you've got a key signature that tells you we are either A flat major or F minor. And if you look at the left hand, even without the third in it, we are kind of sitting on this open fifth, right? And then in bar 4, the right hand adds the third. So I've got a pretty clear indication of F minor. Now, if we look at the vocal line then, that means that our opening scale degrees are 5 and 1. Now, why is that important? Because we are now going to slap a tenor clef on this. So if we do that, that means we have to disregard the key signature that's notated. I'm going to put this tenor clef on here. Now, scale degrees are immutable. Doesn't matter what clef you put them on. 5 to 1 is still 5 to 1. So looking at that then, with the tenor clef, figure out what solfege you have for scale degree 1. So if this fourth line then is C or Do, then that top line is going to give you Mi, which is our tonic, which then gives you your key. So we would sing this then, if we are singing in tenor clef, we will sing it in the key of E minor. You could sing in E flat minor if you want, I guess, sure. But it's a lot easier to play in E minor, so we're going to do it in E minor if that's okay with you guys. Okay, so what I would like us to do is to actually start off by just reading on numbers. So I'm going to give you a key. So there's E minor for you. There's 5 to 1. One thing I want you to note too, this is really similar to Among the Fuchsias in that, first off, it's in the same key. It's by the same composer. And you also have diatonic scale degree 7 in the first bar of the vocal line, so not leading tone 7. Give yourself a minute and wander through this on numbers. And see how you go just by yourself, and then we'll try it as a group. And since you're alone, you don't have to worry about disturbing your neighbors in class. You can go ahead and sing out if you want. So let's try it just on numbers. So don't worry about solfege for right now. We are in tenor clef. We're singing it in that key, but just numbers. 5, 1, natural 7, 5. Let's see how you go. 1, ready, and 5, 1, 7, 5. So hopefully we're all on a 5 here. You can tell just by this read that this melody sits around scale degree 5 quite a lot. So use that as an anchor for you. Hop in the chat real quick, to me or to everyone, scale of 1 to 10. Have that go for a first read. And first reads can be like a 3. That's totally fine. Don't stress over it. All right, fine. Let's take it again, still on scale degrees. I'll play a little bit with you so that you have some kind of way to check yourself. So let's see how you go. 1, 2, and. Okay. Hopefully run number 2 went a little bit better. And now that you have the melody kind of in your ear or in the working stages, now let's try it once on solfege. Tenor clef solfege. And again, you know that this melody sits around 5 now, right? It sits around scale degree 5. We're in E minor. So that means the solfege C is scale degree 5. So you're going to be saying a lot of that if you get lost or panicked. And Okay, so for Unit 2, we are going to be asking you guys to like flash us your scores really quick to make sure you don't have every single syllable written in. But, okay, so you can't write all the syllables in. That doesn't mean you can't mark up your score. So I'll show you kind of what I do is I find an anchor pitch. A lot of times it's tonic. Sometimes it might not be. For this passage, I would likely choose scale degree 5 because that's where we rest. So I would just go in my score and I would just circle all of them. That way I know that's solfege C. If all else fails, when I get to that note, I know what word needs to come out of my mouth. And I can organize everything around that. So if I'm on this one, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I know this is C. Okay, this goes down a third. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, what's down a third from C? It's so. So that is totally fine to mark up your score in that way. Finding an anchor pitch and circling it or something, just so you have some guideposts as you work. Okay, I'll shut up now. Let's try this on solfege one time, just to see how you go. 1, ready, and C, mi, re, si, so, mi, si, fa, so, si, fa, so, si. Okay. That was your daily tenor clef torture. The last thing we're going to do, I'm going to kind of give you a glimpse into the Unit 2 by way of my screen. So, we're going to take a look at my browser. If you can't see this, let me know, because I'm under the assumption that you can. So this is going to look a little different than yours because I have instructor view. So all this stuff that says draft, I'm assuming can't see, but maybe you can, I don't know. So all the Unit 2 stuff is now up at the top. There is this stuff that lives up there all the time. And then Unit 2 has 2 sections now. The first section is the required videos section. So the welcome video published yesterday, it's like less than 5 minutes. If you haven't watched it already, jump on in there and watch it. It just basically gives you the rundown of the unit. And one thing that we are doing differently this unit is there are suggested deadlines for every single piece, every single item. There are 5 items that are going to be due for this unit. And there is a suggested deadline for each individual item, separated and parsed out in a way that you could hand something in every class period. So starting on Thursday, you could hand in your first thing, and if you hand one thing in every class, that means that by the time we get to the end of the unit, you're done by that Thursday. We did that for 2 reasons. One is so that you don't get to the Saturday before the unit ends and realize you have a metric ton of work to do. And 2, so that Professor Miyake and I don't get to the end of the unit and realize that we have over 100 videos to grade and 60 transcriptions. So we're trying to make it easier for everybody. With that said, these next 2 videos, video 1A and 1B, are going live this afternoon. So you will be able to view those today, and they correspond to this first assignment. So your small score reading assignment is suggested due on Thursday. There's a video that explains the reading transposing instruments. It's about 12 minutes long, and then the explanation of the assignment itself is about 4 minutes long. So if you watch those 2 videos, you'll be set to go to work through the first assignment that is suggested due on Thursday. This brings me to what I am offering you as something to do since we are not meeting as a group on Thursday. That's a great opportunity for you to get this assignment out of the way. So take the time that we would be meeting in class and get this assignment done and hand it in put it on Google Classroom and just get it out of your life. I might also be filming a quick little transposing instruments video as well. Professor Miyake and I talked about maybe both of us doing one, so since we explain it in different ways. So that might come up on Google Classroom today. It depends on how much coffee I have in the next couple of hours. But that is what will be going on for Unit 2. So things will kind of roll out on a schedule rather than I just dumped everything on you on the first day of class and blew up everyone's inboxes accidentally. So we're going to do things in a little more of a controlled fashion for Unit 2. Okay, that is all I have for today. We are right on time. If you got questions, please hang out or shoot me an email. I have 1 or 2 emails in my inbox from last night that I did not get to. I had a board meeting that ran pretty late. So if you emailed me last night, I will email you back in the next hour or 2. Otherwise, if you've got questions, hang out. Or you are free to go. Really do consider getting that first project, that first assignment, like out of your life on Thursday. No class on Thursday. If you want to meet for office hours, let me know and I will make something happen. Otherwise, you all have a wonderful rest of your week and I will see you a week from today.